Nature is balance. Everything that occurs has an ebb and flow, a rise and a fall.
True. But ever since the dragons awoke, the world has felt off kilter.
It feels like that, but nature's ways are more mysterious than any of us can know.
Returning with Ulfric, part, what are we on now? 113? About to begin our grand journey and build our legend on the way to prestigious point of being the Pact Commander. We're starting next to Dromund here, with very humble beginnings, just outside Hoelbrak, listening to the birds, looking at the Sons of Svanir prisoners and stuff, and just enjoying this campfire. So, we will now move on, and the main thing I want to do, as we talked to at the end of the last episode, is I want to go to the Wolf Shrine, because we are of Wolf, and we care about them greatly, so we'll see what's going on. First of all, you'll see a ton more Minotaurs. This is a lot like when we were in the Great Hunt. This dynamic event quite often rolls. The idea is they've all been triggered into a stampede, and you've got to clear them all out because they've disrupted the local area, and all the Norn in the area are going to be running around. I wasn't actually originally planning on coming to Wolf Shrine, but I figured it would be kind of fun just because I like so much of Southern Wayfarer. And it's not too far away, right? It's just down here. When you actually start the game, you don't really know what anything is, right? By mousing over point of interest and stuff. But if you mouse over a heart, you can still kind of see what's going on because it gives you the description. To commune with sacred wolves, start a pack hunt, blah, 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 blah. So, yeah, that's kind of the idea. And we'll see, look, just a short jaunt down. We get the shrine. Now, we do have a skill 3, by the way. I'm not going to clear this whole stampede out, but we do now have our third ability. It's called Hunter's Shot. I believe this was well-known in Guild Wars 1, maybe? Fire an arrow, and it stealths us when it hits someone. Also, our pet gains swiftness. So, this is a kind of a double skill, and that's a thing with Ranger. A lot of their abilities are like double abilities, and I really do mean that in all sincerity. In that, essentially, it's a skill for us, and it's a skill for our pet. So in this case, the skill it is for our pet is speeding up our wolf's movement speed. If I just fire it out and don't hit anyone, you'll see he's got swiftness now, and he can run over to that stag just a little bit quicker and hunt it a little bit quicker. For our part, it gives us stealth. So this is kind of a new aspect of the skill. Back when the game originally came out, it never gave us stealth. But it's a really easy way to get it now on Ranger. You know, we're kind of like a huntery class. They were very careful about stealth when the game first came out, and they've slowly been adding it in lots of places. Not necessarily a decision I agree with much. It's really cool for longbow. So the synergy between the two packets, right, is that if I hunter shot him, I stealth, and the stag won't know to come and attack me. In the meantime, my pet is going to rush on in with swiftness and is almost guaranteed to take the aggro. So it's a really nice thing to shake aggro off of us and, you know, let our wolf do its thing. Man, I love this just feeling of being a ranger and just having the pet do everything. I don't really like it for competitive modes and stuff, but for RPGs, I love having, like, zooey things where I get companions and stuff. And there are some cool ways we can just buff and buff and buff our pet and try and play purely into it, which we'll show as we go along. So there you go, that's skill 3. And you can, like, Hunter's Shot, wait a few seconds, and then come out of it with a rapid fire that we showed off at the end of last episode or whatever. Longbow is really cool, actually. I like it a lot. And we'll see more of these, like, double skill interactions coming up later. Anyway, over at the Wolf Shrine, as we've learned a little bit more of what we can do, we do have the Shaman. This is Shaman Vigmar. The Sons of Svanir camp near us like... The Sons of Svanir camp near us like they're predators. Yet they are fools standing in the open. With Wolf's pack, you could easily scare them off. In Wolf's name, I'll run with the pack and fight off the Sons. Commune with the sacred wolves near this shrine. If Wolf Spirit calls to you, you may join the pack on a hunt. What happens on a hunt? Well, stay with the pack. Together you will hunt the Sons of Svanir, ruin their banners, and free the captured cubs. I'm off then. So basically, this is a thing where you stand in range of some of these wolves, like this sacred wolf here. Maybe we can trigger it. The spirit of the wolf calls you to join the pack. Are you ready? And we say, yes, I'd be honored. And you got to stand with them, and they'll run in now and rampage over to the Sons of Svanir and kind of destroy them. The longer we rampage with the pack, the more our heart progress just keeps ticking up. You'll see it's doing it really incrementally. I think this is one of the smallest amounts of renown heart progress you can actually get. Maybe if the full bar is 100, we're getting like 1 every, what is this, 3 seconds right now? It'd take a long time to finish off. But yeah, so you can run on through and do your thing. There is, of course, in the early game areas, a dodge roll tutorial. This guy teaches us all about it. He says, those Sons of Svanir scum have that chest locked down. Their dragon magic is preventing me from reaching it. Well, maybe I can get it. Maybe. A dodge roll would get you there without a scratch. Okay, I'll give it a shot. So, yeah, we can dodge our way in. And hopefully get some nice new loot. Show off a new weapon, maybe. We get some boots. I'm actually pretty happy with that. So, these are mighty studded boots. Better than the leather boots we've currently got. So let's throw those on. And yeah, I'm not going to go into some crazy minutiae, obviously, about every little part of the RPG. In fact, very soon, we're going to be up to level 20, but I did want to give you guys a bit of a feel of these early areas. Let's actually do that now and head on into Hoelbrak for the next part of our quest, which is where we will be due to go. Back up through the Horncall waypoint. Now, you'll notice, unlike in the Great Hunt last episode, the doors are open. We can move on through and enter the great city of Hoelbrak. Now, Hoelbrak itself as a word, again, is like borrowing from Old Norse, I think is the idea. It kind of means cavern of noise, if you will. This loading screen is particularly interesting and one of the more loathed loading screens in the game because the way that they developed a lot of this art, they kind of take... what's it called? It's not called kit bashing, is it? That's something else where you take wholesale areas of an environment and copy them. Anyway, they like grab different assets from different images in the real world and like mesh them together, almost collage-like. And here on this one, you can blatantly see there's a real world crane on the Hoelbrak loading screen. So I hope you guys enjoy that. That's been there since 2012. Now here we are! The great city of Hoelbrak, known for its enormous buildings and its just great architecture, essentially. There's a hell of a lot that we can do here, and I'm going to kind of zigzag us through. We won't do a whole tour of the city immediately.
This is a bad time.
First thing that I find interesting, though, are these runners, right? You find them around the city every now and then. She says cities can be confusing if you've been out in the wild for a while. Maybe I can help. And we say, well, how do I get out of Hoelbrak? She says that depends on where you want to go. There are three exits, really. One's the Asura Gate. One is Jotun Cliffs, which we've not seen. It's to the south. And the other is here at Wayfarer. But if we say, for example, Jotun,
You're with me.
it's a really interesting idea in that she actually physically guides us there. We actually walk through and she takes us all the way to that exit. Kind of a fun method of getting through the city, I suppose. But yeah, so let's just go to the main services first of all. And I think the most fun way to do that, actually, probably, is to come along this bridge, which really doesn't have many NPCs, frankly. Well, it's got lots of NPCs, but that will speak to each other like these kids here. These kids, by the way, probably already the size of a full-size human. But ones that you can actually speak to and interact with, not necessarily so much. We do have some armor and weaponsmiths, and what I'm going to do now is just grab one of each of the ranger weapons. They'll be super low level, but we can slowly go through them as we continue, right? So we can actually dual wield axes as a ranger. We can use longbows, which we've already got one. Short bows. We can have a dagger. We can have great swords. Can't have hammers yet. I'm sure one day they will add it. And lastly, we've got sword and torch. Oh, and warhorn as well. So lots of different things to show off as we go along. There is obviously the opportunity to buy armor here as well, but I've got grander plans than that you'll see in a second. But yeah, so as we run along, you'll see you've got the 4 great lodges, and of Wolf, we actually belong to one of these, which I really want to get into and show you guys. We actually have a lot of cool story reason to go there later as well. And then there's the big central area down there as well. But first of all, let's say around the Great Lodge. Here you'll find a statue. We were talking about sculptures earlier. Eir Stegalkin having been one. This actually looks like a statue of Jorah from Guild Wars 1, if I'm not mistaken. And sometimes you actually find the NPCs wander up here just to, like, look at it and admire it, which is kind of funny. But yeah, we're going to stay up at the Great Lodge, this particular area here known as the Great Rise, as we come all the way up to this huge building. I love how, even as a Norn, already a giant race, we feel small in the presence of these huge buildings. It just really puts it into perspective just how enormous this is, that our baseline as a pretty huge character is already totally, dwarfed. So can you imagine being like an Asura standing in a place like this? Just absolutely nuts. Now, just before we enter the Great Lodge, I do want to take the time to go up to the bank. There's a very cool character here who we've already seen has a reference in the game. So this guy's name is Kolyin Johansson, okay, which is a reference to one of the past game directors, one of the prominent game designers and people at ArenaNet, now since left. We actually talked about a human NPC in Queensdale that also was named after that same dev, so he actually got 2 references at least. I don't know if he got more. But yeah, so he's a Norn that wanders around. He's interesting in that he has a huge patrol around Hoelbrak. I'm really lucky to have found him here. But when you press F to speak to him, he stops moving, which I think is a really weird, like, mechanic the devs would probably be quite scared of in an MMO quite often, because it means I have the power to stop his patrol. It's not actually relevant for anything, so it works, but, you know, they'll be very cagey about such an idea elsewhere in the game. Anyway, he says, busy, busy, busy. Things are always busy around here. As trade administrator, I'm always meeting with someone. I have a desk in the Great Hall, but I've never seen it. And I wonder whether the in-game counterpart is supposed to be talking about, like, his real-world responsibilities at the company. Trade doesn't need an administrator, we say. Remember, we're Norn, we're individualistic. We don't know whether admins are needed. He says, that's what I used to think. We're not known for being organized around here, but as traffic has increased in Hoelbrak, we've learned that some administration is necessary. This to me just screams like, you know, ArenaNet was quite a small company and expanded and expanded and expanded, got bigger and bigger as Guild Wars 2 came out. I can imagine that there was this kind of stuff going on internally. What exactly do you do? I check in with the various shopkeepers and make sure they have what they need for their stores. I also inspect the residential district and take care of the upkeep in the common areas. Well, we can say keep up the good work and kind of move on. So yeah, before we get into the Great Lodge, let's get a couple of other things out of the way with. Now, if we go up this left ramp here, we do find the bank. Sorry, the trading post, which I kind of want to go to. Just to collect funds for Ulfric. Or let's go to the bank first, I think actually might be a better place. And we'll see what we've got up there.
How big is your axe collection?
Don't have one.
Aha! So I have more than you do.
I collect guns.
Oh.
Oh, that's kind of cool. Guns being a new thing with the game, obviously, when it first came out. That's funny. Who are you? Martin Bollinger? Hold! This area is off limits. None may pass. Wait, what? What's going on here? The Wolfborn maintain law and order in Hoelbrak. Some of us throw punches first and ask questions later, but my duties are a little different. Okay, so we are Wolfborn, guys, because, you know, Wolf is our totem. We can say we're from Wolf Lodge and maybe a party to the Wolfborn. They're kind of like the police in Hoelbrak. The thing is, though a lot of Norn live here, they don't really have a centralized authority in any main, you know, really significant way. The closest it comes is the Wolfborn, but they very rarely step in. They very rarely intercede in issues and disputes amongst Norn, who tend to work it out amongst themselves. But his duties are a little different. What makes yours so different? He says, I use the good sense that Raven gave me to solve mysteries. We can't always tell at first look what has happened. I find the truth. I'll leave you to it, we say. It's weird because he patrols around the city. Oh, did he just despawn when we said goodbye? Even though I think he's supposed to be standing at a very specific place. You know, he was telling us to not come near him. Kind of a strange thought. There's also this cool NPC I've got to show here. She talks about a cool thing we have seen so far in the series.
The finest crafters in the land gather here. Think you've got what it takes to join our ranks? Talk to one of our master craftsmen and start forging your legend now.
Okay, not the crafting crier, but she came up to her. I'm talking about her.
Take heed. I haven't taken leave of my senses. I've seen creatures of metal and steam.
Oh, creatures of metal and steam? She says, thank the spirits. Listen to me, please. They're coming. Whoa, slow down. Who's coming? Monsters of metal and steam. I can't even describe them, but they're destroying everything to the west. Please stop them. Horrible. Where exactly are they? West of Hoelbrak. Lornar's Pass is thick with them. By now, they've probably killed someone. I have to go tell others. So, Lornar's Pass is actually very close to Hoelbrak. This is Lornar's Pass. Actually, yeah, this is Lornar's Pass right here. And we have seen the steam creatures there and wondered about them. Well, there's actually an NPC talking about them in Hoelbrak. Geographically, it's actually quite close, so it makes a lot of sense. Funnily enough, in terms of the game, though, there is no exit to Hoelbrak taking us to Lornar's. So, and it's a much higher level map. We'd get destroyed if we went there right now. So it's kind of funny to hear that they have an NPC talking about it, just because that makes sense in the logic of the universe rather than in the gameplay. In terms of gameplay, the steam creatures really aren't going to have anything to do with our story, and we're not going to be able to get close to them. So that's one of the things I quite respect, actually, about this NPC here, at least in Hoelbrak. It does get you thinking, where did those steam creatures come from? What's the idea behind them? Well, a mystery for another day. Okay, alright, I keep getting distracted. I have a little list here of all the different characters I want to speak to. And I've spoken to maybe a third of them because we've gone such a weird way through the city here. But this whole video isn't meant to be the city, so let's come on actually get up to the bank now and see what we can do. Now, I want to note as well, as we move through Hoelbrak, when you look in the sky, you do see these symbols. So there's a symbol of a great tooth up there, which we'll get to very soon. In the center, there should be another symbol maybe. But then you got the great lodges. Look how far away they look. 4 lodges all the way over there. 1 for each of the primary totems. And above them, subtly in the sky, it's easier to see at nighttime, frankly. You can see a little embodiment, a spiritual representation of the spirits of the wild. And it's not like the Norn constructed those. I don't know. We never really hear about that. So maybe it's an actual sign that the spirits appreciate what the Norn are doing, that they are real things that should be listened to. So the bank is just this building here. Let's speak to Koloff.
Stop me or I'll just go on.
Who says, "Ho, traveler, join me. I'm reveling in the majestic Shiver Peaks and giving heartfelt thanks to the spirits for leading Askir to this sacred place. I wonder why the spirits did lead us here, of all places. I don't ponder the will of the spirits. I wonder how many more times I'll see this view. Our lives could end tomorrow, so I live every day as if it were my last. Time to go live mine. Thank you very much. Okay, cool. So we get to the Vigil billet here. Here the Vigil will actually talk to us about what they're doing and, you know, the fight against the dragons, which seems very distant and irrelevant to us right now. Interested in the Vigil? I'm happy to tell you more about it, but as you're not a member, I'm afraid I can't be too detailed. I'm sure you'd understand. What is the Vigil? Well, the Vigil was founded only a few years ago, and our order's goal is to defend those in need, fight against the dragons, and offer charity to those who cannot aid themselves. And we can say, you know, ask for basic information about the Vigil that I'm sure we're all more than aware with. There's this lady here who says, does your life have direction and purpose? Full of heroic deeds? Do you ask yourself, what is it all for? What the Doliac are you talking about? The shadows of the Elder Dragons loom over us. Their evil corrupts the world, but we're doing something about it.
Vigil calls. Join us and fight beside Javi Jorisdottir herself.
Ah, so there she just mentioned Javi Jorisdottir. That's that woman we met at the Vigil Keep way back. Do you remember I said that she was a great descendant of a hero from Guild Wars 1? Well, she's even been mentioned here in Hoelbrak. Who is we? The Vigil, and we're taking the fight to the dragons. It's the only way. We can't stand idle while their shadow devours us all. You sound confident. I've seen the strength of the Vigil leaders. Almora, Loranthir, Ifut, Lord Rodrigo, and particularly Javi Jorisdottir, descended from the hero Jorah. Where can I start? And they're all characters we'll meet. The least interesting one is the one with a kind of Hispanic name, who really doesn't do very much in the story. But all those others, you know, we've got memories of here at this point. So here we are at the bank. Right, let me just rifle through and get us to level 20. Alright, so there we go. We now get 2 more skills to talk about. First is point blank shot. It's a pretty simple skill that basically we can cast really quickly, and anyone close to us gets knocked really far away from us, and anyone really far away gets knocked back just a little bit, right? And then lastly, you've got a really iconic skill. This was an elite in Guild Wars 1, Barrage. So from really far away, we can just hail 1 billion arrows into an area and do lots of damage over time, applying cripple consistently while we do so. So yeah, that's Longbow. I will use it in a fight upcoming with all the skills unlocked, but that's how they all work. And yeah, let's go down to the Great Lodge now, I guess. We got this waypoint up here. And yeah, I'll see you guys through the doors. Unless some other NPC distracts me and entertains me in the meantime. Which, let's face it, is pretty likely to happen.
I tried breaking the tooth yesterday.
Every week I try. Every day dozens try. Nothing.
What happens if nobody can break it?
Silence that doubt. You sound like a whiny Crichton. Someone will break it, and we will slay Jormag.
Alright, so the Great Lodge. We get some lovely art here adorning the entrance. Now, would you believe our home instance is actually here at the Great Lodge? You'll see these Wolfborn flanking this door. Slayer! So look, they know of us as Slayer here. You're a welcome sight. Please come inside and say hello to your friends and advisors. The Hunter's Hearth is always open to you. So, as a norm, we don't really get like a dedicated home. I'll show you what it looks like when we come on up here. But it is, nonetheless, just like all the other races, a place that will update and reflect the various NPCs and things that we visit on our adventure. But yeah, it's actually just a huge, still gathering place filled with Norn, with bunk beds and balconies and places that we can go up higher where we would sleep and whatnot. But yeah, it's basically just a giant hall. While like humans get like a city district, the Norn have built buildings so big that these balconies kind of are the equivalent of city districts. Pretty incredible to think about, right? We don't actually need to go in there for the story just yet, but I thought I'd show it off because that's kind of at the entrance. Here though, as we move along, we are greeted with a hell of a sight. And it is this, the Fang of the Serpent, a tooth of an elder dragon that the Norn actually managed to grab. So of all the races, right, the Norn are the only ones at the start of the story that have actually managed to do some damage to an elder dragon. They are the biggest, most badass ones that have actually accomplished something. You look at the Char in Ascalon struggling with the branded and, you know, that scathed their landscape. You look at the humans offset out of Lion's Arch and, you know, flooded away because of Zaitan. You look at everyone struggling, the Asura offset by the destroyers. Well, the Norn actually bit back at least a little. The thing is, this thing is so tough, we basically can't damage it any further. The guy that rend this tooth and founded Hoelbrak, Askir, We managed to get it out of the dragon's mouth, but we haven't been able to do anything to it since. It's just that strong and sturdy. So there's a lot that's happened with the Norn around it, as, you know, Hoelbrak's risen up around this great artifact. This is the first person I want to speak to about it. It's a huge Norn lady here, taller than us even, called Haldis.
You look tough.
Oh, I am. Thank you very much. She says, "Good day. Have you come to break the tooth?" And we say, "Do you think anyone will break the tooth in our lifetimes?" She says, "Only the spirits know. But I've been here waiting to meet the hero who will do it. I'll shake that person's hand and follow them into battle." "How long have you been waiting?" we ask. She says, "Going on 3 years. I haven't broken the tooth myself, but I'm ready to fight Jormag anyway. Hopefully, you'll get to do that soon." So, like, this is the idea. She embodies, like, what a lot of Norn think. When somebody actually manages to break it, chip it, do anything to it, they will follow that. It will be a sign that a new dawn rises. It's time for our people to go home. And so it's kind of a beautiful idea that you're going to hear a million NPCs as we play this game talking about. To counterbalance that, really interestingly, is this guy here, Elder Ulf, who tells another side of the story. In fact, before we speak to him, do you guys want to try and break it here, right? So, I mean, I shot it earlier. Use combat mode to aim at it, and you'll see it just takes no damage. It's actually under the effects of invulnerability in-game. But the devs made it something we can choose to hit with the red outline, you know, if we really want to. I kind of like that. But yeah, if we speak to Ulf, he's got a kind of a more sobering thought. He says, "I didn't want to say it too loudly, but the tooth. It's really something we use to keep the young from getting themselves killed, trying to hunt Jormag. You don't believe the stories we say?" He says, "Some do, some don't. Askir rent it from Jormag's mouth. It's true, but if he could do that and still be killed by the dragon, what good would extracting this tooth actually do? Wow, then why do you pretend it has more weighted significance?" He says, "The legend has taken on a life of its own. It's become a myth that inspires people to do better, encourages kids to behave, and lends purpose to lives. It does no harm. Disillusion need not be rushed." I really like this line, especially when you think about the real world and what this actually translates to in terms of some real world beliefs and lifestyles and so on. But yeah, so that's kind of his thought, that even if it might be impossible or, you know, not real, it doesn't mean anything really when you get down to the brass tacks logic of it. It still can have meaning in the way people operate their lives around it, and it makes the Norn hopeful. I really like that. We also get a lot of other NPCs here. Dotta, for example. She says, "Welcome to Dotta's Blocks. I'm Dotta, and you must be in the market for the best meats in Hoelbrak. What makes your meat superior? It's all about quality crafting. Anyone can chop up a kill and stick it on a plate. We hand-pick our animals and take the utmost care in each step from the slaughter to the table. What do you have for sale?" "Well, speak to my partner here. He'll sell you whatever we need." And here you can actually buy some
Looking to spend some coin?
pretty nice foods like Moa Hunch, which gives you extra power when you score kills. He's actually really good at low-level stuff, but I'm not going to worry about that too much. Don't let me forget this lovely lady, Raghild,
Many happy
who says, "Welcome to White Bear's home. Call me Raghild." Wow, what are you doing here? Are you related to White Bear too? So White Bear being Newt White Bear, the leader of Hoelbrak. Nah, but I've become friends with Goethe since childhood, long before she became Newt's mate. We had many adventures together too. Seems she's getting into more these days. So this is actually really important dialogue. Newt White Bear has 2 sons that we will meet in Hoelbrak and are actually very related to us as members of the Wolfborn, okay? So you got Newt in charge. He's got his sons who also live amongst the people here. Who did he create those sons with? Well, this woman named Goethe, right? But Goethe has never actually appeared in the game. We hear very little about her. We'll find a statue of her later. But she's basically just out on an adventure, and how we know that is kind of from this dialogue here. She seems like this big, badass, awesome Norn, but we just don't know where she is or who she is. And I think that one of the ideas most of the community don't think about, but when we may get a Norn expansion one day, and takes us back to the 5 Shiver Peaks and all these great things happen, Goethe might be a big part of that story, you know, maybe a great ally of ours or antagonist. We can ask at this point in the timeline, where is she? And they say, not sure. Her wanderlust has always been stronger than the need to sit in a lodge. She's off seeking new challenges, maybe even a few more scars. You shared adventures, her? Well, tell me more. That was back when I had more scars than brains. Saved me my life a couple of times. She would always fight her way out of trouble, I see. So a really cool kind of background character that people don't really know about, and hopefully has a cool story one day. Also, interestingly, at the Great Lodge, something I think most players don't know about is a smith, because there's all more than any other race. I feel the Norn pushes you to smithing and stuff more and crafting, but there's a smith up here. There's this guy speaking to her.
Everyone fights for something.
He says, "A warm greeting to you. I'm looking for a Vala Homeguard original. Have you seen any here in Hoelbrak? What are they? Blades. Homeguard is a child of Raven, barely out of the nest, and yet she has discovered a method of forging blades that surpasses all others. She folds metals together in layers, from soft to hard. I'll keep my eyes open, thanks. Well, here's Vala.
Hush, I need to concentrate. The tiniest mistake will break the pattern in the metal.
So she speaks to us with like regular voice acting, and you get an anvil here and a blade, and there's different voice acting depending on which one you interact with. So the anvil here.
Bladesmithing is
I
more
have
than
never
just
seen a
heat
blade
and
so
applied
well crafted.
force. It's
Makes
an
me
art
proud
that
to be.
gives life to the spirit.
Look at
in
that
the metal.
pattern of differential hardening. It's magnificent. A true work of art.
Okay, this guy is very happy. So yeah, she says that about, and then if you click the blade.
The outer fold represents bear's strength, and the inner fold represents leopard's grace and litheness. Bladesmithing is more than just heat and applied force. It's an art that gives life to the spirit in the metal.
You actually get totally different dialogue, which, believe it or not, that other player triggered, not me there. I didn't do anything. So yeah, kind of cool. And over here, you get some char. We can't actually press F to speak to them, but these guys are like, wow, the Norn blade work is really good, and they're really impressed. And I like the idea that the char have somehow been impressed by Norn smithing.
You're confused. Jormag killed Owl.
But it speaks to the power of her message that I still heard her. Come to my lodge. Listen for yourself.
Right. Like that's going to work.
So here, these guys are talking about something really amazing, and that's that some of the spirits of the wild have been killed by the Elder Dragons, and Owl is a very prominent one in quite a sad story that you'll see various references to that as we travel around too. All right, so with all of that done, there's finally this Jotun here who has some incredible dialogue. And occasionally will come here to the Great Lodge and will speak and preach of his people's past, which I really think we could listen to.
What brings you into Hoelbrak, Jotun? You realize the risk you're taking, I'm sure.
I know. I'm here to talk to your white bear. I'm the last of my people's storytellers.
I'll be blunt. Your people are known more for their violence and warmongering than their storytelling.
True, but there have been some who wanted better.
The ring of the anvil is music to my ears.
I am Thrun, the last ancestor of the last giant king of the Jotun. In the distant past, the majority of my people were storytellers. Later, the minority. Then there were only a few per generation. Now, there's only one in every generation. And I'm afraid I am the last.
I'll speak to Newt Whitebear for you. What do you want me to tell him?
Tell him my people no longer keep our oral traditions. They don't listen anymore. But I know the Norn still respect ancient stories. I want to stay here and share the legends of the Jotun, so the Norn can help us keep them alive.
I'll see what he says. Wait here. Feel free to share a tale or two while I'm gone. Visitors here will find them entertaining.
Oh, I am Throne of the Jotun, and I will tell you a tale about the time before, when the Jotun ruled the world. Long, long ago, the Jotun had magic and power. They were kings of the land, respected by all races.
Still one of my
Think
proudest
twice
moments.
next time you face a Jotun in battle. And remember the height from which the Jotun have fallen. If you want to hear more, talk to me. I have many tales to tell about the world, as it was in ancient times. If you want to hear more, talk to me. I have many tales to tell about the world, as it was in ancient times.
So, the Jotun we're actually going to be dealing with a lot in a moment. They kind of dominate a lot of Ulfric's early story here. And this is a beautiful opening to it. Now, the Jotun we've heard about in the past, you know, that they are one of the ancient races. They're the most, visible of the ancient races these days. They're still around, but they've fallen into infighting and bloodthirst and just killing one another. And it's kind of a sad story. We've heard lots of different interpretations, particularly from the humans, as to what happened with Abaddon when he gave magic to the races and took it away and stuff. Well, this Jotun is possibly the most fascinating NPC in all of Corteria, because he is an unreliable narrator that tells a totally different history of the world that has pieces of truth in there. It's amazing. So he comes and he tries to tell this story to the Norn, who basically don't listen very much. But some of the Norn in the background do have like their own little responses.
Corden, did you hear what that Jotun said about our ancestors?
I heard. Do you think it's true?
If it is, then we owe more than we ever thought to the grace of the spirits. Just imagine. What if there were once Norn kingdoms with great magic and power?
Don't be silly. We're not like that. We don't have kings. It's everyone for themselves. Come on now. I'm thirsty.
But maybe it wasn't always like that. Maybe...
So, let's speak to him and see what he says. He says, my people have walked these mountains since before the humans came, since before the gods put limits on magic, since before the dragons slept, since the age of giants. And we say, wow, tell me about the gods. He says the gods once favored the giants, the Jotun. They gave us magic and blessed us with knowledge of mechanical and magical things. So here he's talking about the gods, directly involving themselves with Jotun, which we weren't really too familiar with before. We've heard that the gods gave magic to humans and the lesser races in general, but does that include the Jotun? But they gave them magic, apparently, and this storyteller says, what happened? Well, the gods threatened to take magic from us. They were afraid we would use it against them. So this is, the human story is that they took it away because the humans begged for it. The Jotun seem to believe it was because the gods were scared. Our confusion was great, and the Jotun kings began to fight among themselves. And then, the gods became unhappy with us. They took magic away from us and handed it in measured bites to their favorite races. My people have been sliding deeper and deeper into darkness ever since. So he basically blames humans almost fully for what happened and the gods. I want to hear another story. And the idea, guys, is it's probably not full truth. There's probably like bits of this that are true, and there's bits of what the humans say that are true. And we just don't know, where that intersection truly is. It's amazing, right? Tell me about the arrival of humans. So here, for example, he says, the humans came in boats from across the Great Water. At first, they kept to the shores, but then they spread across the land and into our mountains. So he says across the Great Water. What is the Great Water here? Is it the unending ocean? Because if so, that would suggest humans came from Cantha. And would you believe it that in Guild Wars 1, there was a suggestion that that's the truth? That operates totally differently to the gods bringing humans to Eir and them spreading out, right? Or is this the Great Water? Obviously, he doesn't know. He just knows the story told by his father, by his father, by his father over thousands of years. Or, 1,000+ years. What then? In the beginning, humans lived like Grawl. The gods had not yet noticed them. Look at this! We think that the gods brought humans here. But he says that the gods hadn't even noticed them. Their magic was primitive. Fire, earth, air, and water. My Jotun ancestors helped them survive. What happened next? Well, humans collected on the high plains. Tribes became settlements. Settlements became a kingdom. And that was when the gods noticed them and betrayed the Jotun. So, is this true? You guys might think that this is like a lore discrepancy, but it's really not. There's actually a human NPC we will get to speaking to here in Hoelbrak who tells kind of the opposite story right near where this Jotun is. I want to hear another story, we say. Tell me about the dragons. Stories of the ancient time of dragons are rare, mostly forgotten. When I was young, an old Jotun came to our fire and told us about a time before the dragons slept. What was it like? The magic was wild. The dragons were merciless conquerors. They had the entire world under their talons. Magic was wild. What does that mean? What happened after that? They went to sleep, and the surviving races rebuilt. My Jotun ancestors formed kingdoms. Giants, like the Jotun and the Norn, grew powerful. The chaos was tamed. Until now. So here he's saying the Norn were powerful. The Norn had an ancient history. It's kind of amazing, right? I want to hear another story. What is the Age of Giants? The Age of Giants was a time when all the world's giants ruled Tyria. Your people, my people. We had magic like you will never know. Wherever we walked, the ground shook. My Norn ancestors too? The other races looked up to the Norn and the Jotun. We were superior to all other races, and we were gaining on the gods. What happened? The Age of Giants ended when magic was stolen from us. You Norn turned to your spirits of the wild to redeem your strength and self-respect. We Jotun, have had no one and nothing to pull us from the quicksand. Wow. So, I mean, what an amazing story here. I geek out so much speaking to this guy. How much is what we should take away? Well, hey, who knows? So there's just all these brilliant things here, right? With the tooth, and then you get the Jotun that we get to speak to. Awesome stuff. Well, there's another reason we've come here. It's because of this great Norn smith here, Bagarth, who actually we've had a mail. So let's read this. He says, a challenge awaits you in Hoelbrak. Hail, Slayer of Isormir. I heard of your victory in the Great Hunt, and Eir Stegalkin herself recommended I contact you. I have a challenge for you, one that will benefit us both if you're willing to meet it. I await your arrival at Might and Main in Hoelbrak, but glory awaits for no Norn. Come see me, and I guarantee both of our legends will grow. So, Bagarth the Blacksmith will eventually become a smithy within the pact. Awesome guy. Let's see what he's got for us.
Bagarth the Smith, what would you have of this season's finest slayer?
Oh, you're mighty confident for one so young. Reminds me of me after I won the Great Hunt. Oh, but that was a long time ago. I chose smithing over hunting, and I never regretted it. Now it's time to forge my masterpiece, a mighty weapon to break Jormag's tooth.
Nothing has so much as scratched the tooth in over 100 years. What makes you think you could craft such a thing?
Deldrimor steel. If I can get my hands on enough of it, I can make a weapon to shatter mountains. The secret of the alloy was lost with the dwarves, but I can smelt existing relics into the steel I need. Such artifacts have surfaced in a Jotun cave near Grollenfjord. Yeah, that's why I sent for you. If you can beat back the Jotun and collect the artifacts I need to forge the weapon, you might be worthy of bearing it. Interested?
Interested? Ha! I'm determined. Ready your forge for dwarven metal, Smithy.
So, we're going to be dealing quite directly with Jotun. There's a Jotun cave with dwarven artifacts. Two of the lesser races here, you'll see as we've left that conversation, the Elder is left now. So yeah, it's really kind of cool actually that what's going to happen here is we're going to learn a lot more about the Jotun very early. Also, our Ulfric's story is going to begin with the dwarves and kind of in some ways end with the dwarves. So, pretty fun. And so, two more things before we leave and we go out on our adventure. We actually heard of Grollenfjord a while ago. That's back out near where we started today, out in the Wayfarer foothills. Two more things. First of all, though, here in the Great Lodge, there are the cultural armor smiths. So, tier 1 is called Wolfborn. Tier 2 is called, well, different based on what we are. We're going to be in predatory stuff, though. And tier 3, we're just going to be in regular wolf. So, I mean, how brilliant is this? What we're going to do is start our adventures and upgrade our gear by wearing the Wolfborn stuff. So here we go. Maybe I'll play with the dyes on it a little bit later. You'll notice we get this really badass mask over our face that looks like a wolf's mouth. It's so detailed as well. You can see it point out each individual little tooth on there. It's really nice looking armor. And yeah, there's a thing about the Norn, right? You might think we're really cold because this isn't just slugged over us entirely. And the point is that a lot of the Norn don't really wear their heavy cloths and stuff just to keep warm. They're warm anyway, like their race is just tolerant of the mountains. They wear a lot of the heavy leathers and things to honor the things that they hunt and the spirits of the wild and whatnot. So yeah, Wolfborn gear, and as we move up into Newt Whitebear's loft, we can meet with the Newt himself, who probably doesn't have very much to say. I mean, yes, we're the Slayer of Isormir, and we saw him last episode. But, you know, he's busy doing things. You'll see he's sitting here on his throne. We can actually try to sit on it instead. And he says, in case your eyes are failing you, this fine chair is already occupied, Slayer. It would be rude to force the issue, we say. So, yeah, this is kind of where he rules from, in so much as Newt really rules. Because it's not quite like that. It's more that he's just here and everybody else is here too. So, yeah, cool. Brilliant stuff. Now, Bagarth will have a little bit more dialogue for us as we leave now. That we started this story. He says, I'm waiting to be impressed. Where's my Deldrimor steel? Come on, show me some of the fire that won you a spot in the Great Hunt. Now, Deldrimor steel is kind of funny in the when this story step was added, what the devs were doing is nodding back to a Guild Wars 1 endgame crafting material. It didn't exist as a Guild Wars 2 crafting material because the dwarves were gone and it had been 250 years and it was lost and so on. However, funnily enough, as the game progressed, when Ascended Crafting got added to this game, sort of the new end game stuff, Deljamore Steel became a Guild Wars 2 crafting material as well. So, you know, it might not seem like a weird thing to talk about in the story step to a contemporary Guild Wars 2 player, but actually when launch came out, Deljamore Steel was, you know, it was a fun nod back to an ancient thing. Before I go, what can you tell me about Hoelbrak and the Sons of Svanir? Like, there's so much going on here. We're going to find dwarven artifacts in a Jotun cave with Sons of Svanir around? Hoelbrak's one of the Elder Dragons, the Ice One. When it rose, it drove our people from our homes in the Shiver Peaks. Newt Whitebear led us here and promised us we'd someday return to reclaim our land.
Years ago, I won the Great Hunt. Still one of my proudest moments.
My grandmother fought the dragon before Asgeir did. She didn't bring back a tooth. She died fighting.
That sounds better than getting a trophy from a beast you couldn't kill.
Yes, I'm sure she died happy.
There we get an awesome description of how the Norn feel about life and death and stuff. Now, what Bagarth just said here, Newt led us here, that's actually wrong. Bagarth isn't right about it. It was Asgeir that led them here. Newt is just his grandchild, but hey, we'll forgive it, alright? Maybe he's just being nice to Newt. That'll be a glorious day. What about the Sons? The Sons of Svanir decided that Hoelbrak was ultimate predator, worthy of adoration. Now, they worship the Ice Dragon as if it were a spirit of the wild. To them, brutality is more admirable than honor. So just as I follow wolf as my totem, they follow dragon as their totem. And in that sense, it's not actually that crazy once you are a Norn and you realize how they operate. Thanks for the information. I'll be back soon with your Deljamore Steel. The question is just they following the wrong thing that doesn't care about them.
Smithing's like cooking. The more you love doing it, the better the results.
Okay, so we just said to him, don't rush me, Smithy. I'll get your steel.
You sound like a whiny Crichton. Someone will break it, and we will slay Jordan.
And with that, I think that's most of the things I wanted to talk to you guys about in Hoelbrak done. Let's get on out and find this cave at Grollenfjord. So where we started the episode coming down this path, we're going to go down this one now. So, back out where we began here. Let's move on. It's dark now. I do love the Shiver Peaks in both night and day. I gotta say I prefer the day a little bit, but it gets a lot colder and a lot more scary at these times. Hello, Brewer Dagolf. How you doing? He says it says here he has smash attacks. Well, he's going to sell us lots of different booze and things, which I'm not sure I'm too worried about right now. We got did we ever come into this house? I don't know whether we did. Apprentice Gisa. Hello there. You must be looking for Sven. I'm just his apprentice.
Good hunting.
Lodgekeeper Reckon. Welcome to the finest lodge in all of Hoelbrak, friend. We're actually outside of Hoelbrak, but okay, I could use a drink. Ah, you've come at an unlucky time. My kegs are dry, but I'm expecting more from the north soon. Oh yeah, this is the place where they actually talk about some events and stories way up north in the map. Super far up north where they get their drinks and stuff. The idea is there's supply lines coming all the way down. And you kind of hear about it here, even though it's going to be multiple levels of gameplay before you get up to it. Right, so yeah, the road is roughly here. You'll notice across this river now, there's actually a lot of different things you can do over there. In terms of hearts, there's a waypoint that you can grab. This is some of the earliest leveling places. This is like the human equivalent of just leaving Shaymore, if you will. We're going to probably avoid as much of that as we possibly can for now, and just wander on over here. You'll see that this is the bear shrine with the bear cave there. If you actually swim down in that water, funnily enough, there's a secret route that you can swim through to go up north, but it's pretty dangerous there. We want to enter our story, A Weapon of Legend. You get some cool concept art of the Jotun as they exist now. Hello. Are you okay with me? Are you going to be mad? Are you alright? The other guy was talking to us. I'm sure he'll be fine, right?
Run, insect. Leave before I tear your arms off and beat you to death with them.
Jesus Christ. So, the Jotun. Knocks back, buffs allies, inflicts weakness. He's pretty dangerous. You'll see he's dual-wielding big badass axes here. Now that we are a higher level, we've unlocked more pet control here. So, if you look above my skill bar now, you'll notice we can see the health of our pet on the user interface. I mean, we could just look above them and see that. You'll also see though that we've got lots of different abilities and things going on. First and foremost is a new panel called the pet panel, right, which I can open by pressing K. And here we know all kinds of cool details about our pet. First of all, the option to name it. So you got a couple of rules Same as when you're naming a character, for example, you can't use weird characters, or, you know, you can't have less than 3 characters in the name, and so on. Now, I've thought quite carefully about what I want to name our wolf, and I'm going to go with this one here, Beartulf, all right, which is kind of an Old Norsey term that kind of means like to be like bear and wolf, and I'm naming it this because I was really close to picking up the bear pet for this character, but we've gone with wolf here instead. So Beartulf is the name. Also, it is a boy. If you see down here, there's a little bit of flavor text that says he's been with you as long as you can remember, which is really nice. As we travel, though, and we find other pets, that text will change. It's a bit like in, say, Pokemon, where it tells you the route you gathered something from. So if I actually look at our other pet here, the raven we got before, you'll see that it says instead, the raven we have was charmed at Snow Lord's gate. We'll not worry about the raven for now. Let's stick with Beartulf. So Beartulf has all of his own stats. It's a lot like when we look at our hero panel and we see we've got our stats here. Beartulf has a similar thing, and his stats are not reliant on mine. So depending on which pet you get, it can very much change how tanky they are, how much damage they do, and so on, because you don't really get to tech directly into their stats in a direct way, okay? So that's one. And then they have their skills. This bottom bit here is related to very end game expansion stuff, so ignore that. But here we got 4 skills, and these are the 4 things that Beartulf can do. He can bite, which we've seen he's been doing. He's learned how to use a crippling leap, where he jumps forward and cripples people. He's learned how to use a brutal charge, where he leaps at them and knocks them down. And then also there's this one here called Chilling Howl. Chilling Howl is a special pet skill in that Beartulf will never do it on his own. Beartulf will only ever do it on command. And that's what you're looking at here. So, if I press F1 as a ranger, I can make my pet attack anything I want. So over here, we got some Jotun running in a big circle. If I press F1 from all the way back here, Beartulf will go in, check it out, and start attacking. And he'll do his ability. So that's the knockdown leap we just saw he cast. That was the crippling leap we saw that he cast. Now he's biting until his other abilities come up. So he's got his own 3 abilities. But at any point, I can press F2. And you see the skill is here, Chilling Howl. And this is a beast ability to howl at foes and chill them. Right? So I can actually apply this, lower the Jotun's cooldowns, slow down his movement. And so yeah, you get direct control over a bit of what they do, but not the majority of what they do. So you got F1 to attack. F1 is their special ability, and F3 is to call them back to your side. So if I press F3 here, he'll run over to us, and he'll make sure that, you know, he's not going to do anything too silly. Lastly, we do have 2 other buttons, which are kind of more out of combat related. I'll show you those here. So let's kill this Jotun. We've got the ability to change, like, his passive behavior. So right now he's guarding me. That means if I run up to this Jotun, the Jotun attacks me, Beartulf will get mad and attack the Jotun, right? That's guard. What I could also do is change it to avoid combat. So no matter what I do ever, Beartulf won't attack unless I specifically command him to do so with, like, Chilling Howl and F1 and stuff. So you can kind of choose if you want him to just think for himself or you want to control the vast majority of how he acts. So there's that. You can clear that Jotun down. There's barrage here. You haven't seen me cast that. Here's the point blank shot too. And finally, we have this button, which isn't actually on a hotkey, but what that will do is stow Beartulf, right? So I'm actually just on my own here now, and Beartulf kind of won't fight with me. You'll see we just say, we see the user interface has changed a bit. That said, the devs have it specifically designed that being a ranger is about having a pet. A lot of your skills are like double skills, as I explained before, and a lot of your traits and stuff affect your pet. There isn't really such a thing as not having a pet at all.
I need help. These ugly lumps mean to kill me.
And so, even if I get attacked while he's stowed, you'll see Beartulf will come back out the second I get in combat, okay? The idea is to have a pet. If you want to be that kind of character that doesn't have a pet, well, there's other classes. Run like a longbow warrior, for example.
I can take care of myself from here. But there are more prisoners inside. Their sons dragged them in. And then I heard screams. Don't worry about me, help them.
So it was somewhat of a controversial decision for the devs to do that with the pets, but there you go. So that's my whole discussion on pets. We saved this Norn as well. Lots of Jotun around. Let's head on into the cave and see if we can find that Delgin still there. We've already been a bit of a hero.
We will make another offering. A hunter who wandered too close. He is strong. His sacrifice will gain us power.
We could butcher an entire homestead without this dragon. This ceremony is a waste. That faithless attitude is the reason for our decline.
Don't be so eager to embrace ignorance. We live no better than animals. Ignorance is relying on others to save us. That will be our downfall.
Ah, so here, I love that we get to speak to Elder Thrall next to Bagarth and then come here and see other Jotun. Look, they're struggling with the fall of their civilization. And these ones have turned to dragon. Oh dear, who convinced them to do that? Well, let's cast Barrage here and try and clear them down. You'll notice that different Jotun do different things. This one burns and dazes and confuses, while the other one we saw earlier had different abilities. Here we're getting Jotun Slayer as we kill them. The more you kill, you can just get AP for, you know, slaying enough of a certain type of foe. We've talked about several times on the series before.
Jormag, hear us. Give us the strength to reclaim our birthright.
Jormag, give us strength.
Accept this offering of blood and bone. Make our enemies yours, and we will make your enemies our own. Jormag, give us strength. In your name, we will destroy them all. We will rule this land once more. Jormag, give us strength.
Jormag, give us strength.
This is awesome. Look at how long they chant. It's really realistic that this is like their ritual and what they like to do. I like how we can sit back and eavesdrop, you know. But yeah, all right, so let's head on in and just throw all of our skills out here as best we can. Starting with a barrage. Knock one of them away so that you can't hit Beartail so much. I mean, we're at no risk of even being looked at. And down they go. Cool. So, oh, there's a dead warrior here. Looks like we're not the only Norn. Did Bagarth send someone else in before us? Oh, dear. Or were these, I guess, just Norn that the Jotun were capturing as sacrifices? Here we find another one, a woodcutter, who we can actually investigate. It says, this crude shrine appears to be dedicated to the Elder Dragon Jormag, a recently deceased Norn, is splayed across the altar. And so we can pay our respects to the fallen here. A reverent silence descends on the cave. The shrine stands ready for your eulogy. I don't know you, but whoever did this to you will drown in a sea of blood. I swear it. The ferocious options when you're a Norn are really, really ferocious, I'll tell you guys. We'll see as we keep playing. Your grim vow echoes throughout the cave. Leave the altar. So we got that. Well, at least we can check for some Deldrimor steel. And the Deldrimor artifacts here glitter with an unnatural light. Retrieve them. There's an extra, like, level of tragedy here, knowing that the Jotun are, like, scrabbling around doing these evil, terrible things, being led astray like this, and rummaging over the piles of another one of the ancient races there that have, you know, just completely fallen to extinction in their own way. But there you have it. Sad stuff. And it kind of tells the story of, you know, a side of the Elder Dragon conflict right here at the beginning of the game that I think a lot of people don't think about, and their last rising, you know, and that what happened to these ancient races could easily happen to us proud Norn even today. So yeah, with that done, let's return to Bagarth and see what he has to say.
Ho, traveler.
Ho, Bagarth.
I brought your dwarven steel, blacksmith. I also saw the bodies of the other hunters you sent. Those Jotun are worshipping the ice dragon.
Bear's breath. I didn't know that. I'll take the steel off your hands, but I can't do anything about the Jotun. Though I do know someone who can. Do you know Eir Stegalkin? Tall, beautiful, travels with a huge black wolf. She killed one of the ice dragon's strongest lieutenants.
Of course, she fought beside me against Isormir, and I've heard songs of her epic deeds at several moots.
She could help us. And not to be a gossip or anything, I hear she's taken quite an interest in you since the Great Hunt.
In me? Why?
To tell you the truth, I'm not sure. Perhaps you impressed her. In any case, ask her about these Jotun, and I'm sure she'll lend a hand.
So, it's time to meet with Eir Stegalkin. I'm going to waypoint back to the entrance here. Eir is a fascinating character. This is the leader of Destiny's Edge that so far, you know, we've seen a lot of what happens to her, and we know her backstory, but we haven't really got to know her personally. She's still a bit of a mystery, I feel, in that way. Well, here, as a Norn, we're going to become pretty close friends with such a powerful, legendary figure within Tyria today. So let's head on into her homestead There's a lot of cool trivia about her. She has Garm. She's of the Wolfborn, just like us. So she has her own wolf. As a Wolfborn, by the way, you know, the Norn can transform, invoke their totems and transform, into bears and into snow leopards and stuff. Funny thing about Eir, with her, red hair that was just mentioned. If she turns into her wolf totem, apparently it's got all like red hair, but I don't ever think you really see it in game. It's a really cool thought there. But yeah, so this is where Eir lives. Her homestead just on the borders, just outside of Hoelbrak. And it's kind of an amazing place because as you walk up towards it, you will find her main thing, aside from slaying, Elder Dragon lieutenants and stuff, is she's a brilliant sculptor.
Raven's Beak, that's one bad statue.
What are you talking about? It's incredible. The carving is flawless.
I'm not questioning her skill, just her choice of subjects. That oaf doesn't deserve a monument.
Right, these ladies may be disputing, but the quality of her work is incredible. So, who have we got here? Anja, who says, you can't argue with Eir's skill, but her choice of subjects ruins the whole effect. Well-crafted pieces, but ugly is ugly. You raise an interesting point. Heroes aren't just what they used to be, we say. Eir says the same thing around the fire. When she finds someone worthwhile, I think she'll carve a statue worthy to place in the Great Lodge. Thanks for the information. Efja had a different opinion. Art is tricky. You have to stop and think to appreciate it. The subject of a piece doesn't matter, so long as it's a good representation. Does that make sense? So we can be charming here, or we can be dignity and ferocious here. Like a beautiful song about an ugly dog. No, I can represent what Doliacs leave behind on the trail, but it's still scat. You're missing the point. Art elevates both subject and audience. I swear, the next time someone whines about subject and not craftsmanship, I'll brain them with a tree branch. Brain them? I've never really heard that being used as a verb in that way. Right, this is a very elevated attitude you've got there, Professor. I like that discussion, actually, though, that maybe you shouldn't just whine about the subject and you can appreciate the craftsmanship rather than anything else. Anyway, so why are they complaining? Well, each of the big statues here that Eir has drawn, look at the warm light there, is to a different great hero that has somehow impacted on her, I guess. Well, here we've got Brothander Halfmad. Now, if you guys read the novel Edge of Destiny, you'll find it opens with her sculpting things. Brothander Halfmad, inventor of Bear's Brown Ale. In his own words, brews 1 through 94 were poison, but 95 by Bear. That's a winner. So we've got that. We also have this statue over here from Seta Bladestrong. Seta Bladestrong, her eternal journey shall end only when the Mesmer Blackheart is slain and her love avenged. May she one day know rest at last. So there's this hint at this Mesmer Blackheart we've never really heard or seen much about there, but there's Seta Bladestrong and she's sitting, kneeling by the thing. There's two amazing statues there, very curious one I want to look at in a minute. Here we've got Askir, a statue to him himself, Askir Dragonrender, the greatest of their legends. Askir Dragonrender, Battlemaster, favoured of the spirits of the wild, builder of Hoelbrak, may his legend live forever. So we got Askir here. Next, we got Gerta White Bear, who we mentioned in the Great Lodge a moment ago. The actual mysterious adventuring mate of Newt these days, currently off screen, but Eir has made a statue to her. Gerta White Bear, Enchantress, destroyer of the Flesh Reaver Lord, Titus, bane of lies. Let all Norn know this shall be an age of heroes. It's a real shame because we never get to truly speak to Eir about Gerta and what she knew and what this means as the destroyer of the Flesh Reaver Lord Titus. But there you have it, bane of lies. And now two more statues. First, we've got Jorah of Guild Wars 1. Jorah, Mountain Walker, Kinslayer, Curse Breaker, Blood Whooshes Blood. I love this as Blood Whooshes Blood there, the name of one of the missions, of course. And then lastly, a statue that every single thing we see here is a great powerful Norn towering above us all of them. And then there is this. An Asura. Snaff. A statue of an older Asura looking mischievous, kind and careworn. The area for inscription is conspicuously blank, and above the space is simply Snaff. Nothing more. Well, let's speak with Eir about these and see what we've got going on with the Jotun. Thanks very much for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time. The stars above the Shiver Peaks were cold and bright, crowned by the iridescent borealis of the northern sky. In the great lodge of Hoelbrak, a youth stood before the shamans and sought lessons of revenge. No, said the Shaman of Bear. Learn strength, Viscar. Learn wisdom. Grimhilda does not seek victory. She seeks the utter annihilation of her enemy. I will not teach you to throw away your life. I am sorry, said Wolf's followers. We would gladly help you avenge your family, but what you propose is suicide. Think of your pack. If you attack Grimhilda, she will punish those you love. The Havroon of Raven shook his head when Viscar asked, You cannot even tell me how she cheated. Grimhilda is clever, and she always has a lethal surprise for her enemies. If you do not know more than she does, she will destroy you. Viscar clenched his fists. Will no one help me? A shadow moved in the corner of the lodge, and yellow eyes gleamed. You haven't asked me yet, murmured the speaker of Snow Leopard, Valrantha, her movements smooth and graceful. Will Snow Leopard teach me to take vengeance? He asked. If I follow her path, will she show me how to defeat Grimhilda? More. Valrantha lowered her eyes and smiled. She will turn your vengeance into legend.